Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up. So, Francesca, I know the end of the school year is coming, if not already passed. I know it's as we're recording this, it's upcoming. So, what are your plans for the summer? What are you doing with your not days of having to go to work?
I don't know. I like a whole lot of nothing. Yeah, I don't have any set plans. Like, we're gonna head up north for Memorial Day weekend. But after that, I really don't have anything planned, anything specific. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have the summer off. So if some opportunity does present itself, there's a better chance that I'll be able to participate. Although I do have one big music festival that I'm going to in the summer, the American Music Festival at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn, Illinois. So a lot of our favorites are playing, old 97s. And then, of course, like Nikki Lane, gosh, who else is playing? I mean, there are so many names, right? It's a 4-day festival.
Nice.
But Nathan Graham is playing, Margot Silker. So that right now is like the highlight for my summer. The reality is I'll probably spend a lot of time. Both my siblings that live in the area have swimming pools in their backyards. So I'll probably be at their houses, at their pools. And my sister's also a teacher, so she'll be off. And yeah, I do have some like work/school stuff to do. So, I'll probably be doing that. But yeah, I really don't have anything like planned, but I'm open to ideas.
Well, what she's saying there, folks, is she doesn't have anything planned except when Jason Falls comes to Chicago to visit. Jason and Karen are coming up, and she and I and Francesca and Tom are going to see S.G. Goodman and Tyler Childers in the United Center. So that's her big event of the summer, which she so conveniently avoided talking about. But other than that,
I didn't avoid it. Here's the thing. That's a short time away. Like, it's not even registering that like school is ending in a couple of weeks, and then we're doing that. Like, then you'll be here the week after.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't even feel like it's part of summer.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't conveniently.
Well, it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 1 month from when we're recording this is when we're going to be in Chicago chilling out with Tyler and SG. So
can't wait.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that. That's going to be so much fun. And you better take me to Fitzgerald's too. We got to go there.
Yeah, we definitely have to fit that in, and we'll have to look and see who's playing. I'm sure if you're here over a weekend, there's going to be something going on.
So my summer, not that you asked, but my summer is chock full of shows. I mean, I've got Railbird the first weekend in June, and then a week later, I've got the Drive-By Truckers are coming through Louisville on their Southern Rock Opera tour. So I'm going to see that, and we have VIP experience for that, which is cool. And then the next week, I'm seeing. Oh, and then, by the way, the day after or the day before that, I'm seeing Digby play, which we interviewed. I'm seeing them play here in town for the first time in 17 years. And then the week after that, coming up to go see Tyler and S.G. Goodman with you. And then what's after that? There's, my friend Joe Ray. Hey, shout out to Joe Ray Thornberry. He's out there listening. He listens to every episode. Joe's the guy I've told you before who likes to call me the day before or the day of a show and say, hey, I got tickets to go see so-and-so in Des Moines. You want to go? And I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's go. So we're going to, it's the Madison, Indiana Regatta, which is a big boat thing on the river. They also have a music festival, and I never remember the damn name of it. It's the River Devil Set Your Shit on Fire or something. I don't know what it's called. But 49 Winchester is playing, and I believe Wyatt Flores is there as well. There's a couple of really, maybe Whiskey Meyer. I'm forgetting who all's there. It's a bunch of bands that I want to see that I haven't seen yet. At any rate, and Joe, by the way, knows Isaac from 49 Winchester, so I'm trying to work an angle. We'll see. So anyway, going to that show, and then July 30th here in Louisville, $10 Cowboy, Charlie Crockett is coming through.
Oh, there you go.
And we got the VIP tickets for that too. So I'm hoping that means I get to meet him. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what it all entails. I'm probably going to get a poster and, some sort of trinket, but I think I get to see, we get to watch warm up or something. I can't remember what it is.
Oh, okay.
And there's like 5 or 6 other shows in there. I'm spending way too much time and way too much money on concerts this summer. But by the end of it, I'm gonna have a lot of stories to tell you guys, which is what they're for.
There you go, and that's what it's all about.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun, and I can't wait to report back. And I'm sure that Francesca and Tom and Karen and I will create several embarrassing stories, which we will recount unashamedly here on the show. So stay tuned for all that later in the summer. Welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
He's Falls.
And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love. Today on the show, I'm really, really excited to have Leon Majcen on the show. I saw him open for Sundy Best here in Louisville back in February. And then I saw him play again a couple weeks back at the Monarch here in Louisville. And I just love his songs. I just love his songs.
And his whole backstory, his family is very interesting as well.
That's true. He is the son of Bosnian immigrants. He grew up in Florida. I believe he was born in Bosnia and came here at a very young age.
I do believe that.
But he tells us the story about that in the show. His father was a big music fan, had some vinyl records, and they would listen to him. So, and the way that I would sort of explain Leon's music to you, in my mind, he's kind of this interesting new era mix of John Prine and Townes Van Zandt and Jimmy Buffett. So he grew up on the Florida coast. He writes some fishing songs. He worked at a commercial fishing operation. He writes some really cool introspective songs like a Townes Van Zandt, and he's got some clever lyrics and inserts humor into his music a lot like John Prine. I just think he's one of those guys who's got the potential to fill those kinds of shoes as he continues to progress as a songwriter. And I've just been taken with him, and it doesn't hurt that he's fucking good looking as shit. And I'm unashamedly will say that he's taller than I thought he was too, by the way. When I met him in person, I was like, oh my God, you're like 6'3". He's like handsome and rugged and got the look. Yeah. So he's a good looking.
I'm so glad you said that, because as you're talking, I'm listening and I'm thinking the next thing I'm going to say is
he's hot
and he's easy on the eyes. He's a total cutie.
Hey, I'm not ashamed. He's a good looking dude. And if there's another man out there that can't see that, you're fucking blind. He's a good looking dude.
Right. And he's like, half my age. I could definitely be his mother.
Oh, absolutely.
So, it's not like, I'm just stating a fact. He's a good looking
dude. So anyway, he's coming on the show and we're just excited to have him. He's going to be a lot of fun to talk to. And we had a good time talking to him, and he's got some fun stories to share. And I just love his music. I saw him, when I saw him here at the Monarch in Louisville a couple of weeks ago, I got a chance to, oh, by the way, not that we're doing this on video, but I got me a Leon Majcen hat.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Got me a hat, and if you look over my shoulder, I got a poster back there on the wall. That's his new album. He's got a new album coming out, and so we're going to share some music from that album and some of his older stuff too here on the show. But I just really am fascinated by this kid's songwriting, and I think he's really good, and I think he's got a lot of potential. So,
and then when he does, get over that cusp, you can say you heard him here first.
Absolutely. We will take credit for his success. Every bit of it.
Absolutely.
Before we get into the show, though, and we get to Leon, as we talked about here at the beginning of the show, Francesca's there is a school teacher. She teaches the schools, tries to educate them young'uns. And I got to thinking about that the other day, because one of my earliest memories from school was going to music class. And I have an interesting music teacher, a couple music teachers, but I have an interesting elementary school music teacher to tell you all about. But I wanted to ask first, because Francesca is a product of the Chicago public school system, which I would assume is slightly different than that of the Pikeville Independent School System in Pikeville, Kentucky, in them there hills. So, Francesca, did you have music class? Was that a thing in your elementary school years?
Yes and no. I started my elementary school experience at a Catholic school. So I was there from kindergarten until the end of third grade. And we did not have music there. I just remember the second grade teacher, Miss Julie, she played piano and she would play and we would sing, like she taught us songs, but that was it. And then my parents transferred me into the public school to start fourth grade. And we did not have music at the public school, but it was a language academy. So it had that going for it. And that's where my love of languages started. So, while we didn't have music, it did kind of set me on this path, of one of my passions. But we had a couple of teachers at the school who were musicians, right? Or who could play music and read music. So Dr. Zeltman, she was my 7th and 8th grade teacher, and she played piano. So she would play, we would sing. I mean, we had like school assemblies and performances and stuff. We still got to do that sort of thing, but not like every day. We didn't have an organized class. And then when I went to high school, I went to a Catholic high school in Chicago. And while it has a very good arts program, I was not a musician going into high school. So I didn't get to, really get into the music classes. I just had music appreciation my freshman year, and that was it. Gotcha. So there are more like really involved like orchestra and choral, classes, but you've kind of got to be established to get into that. So yeah, I didn't really have like organized music classes, but when we did have something musical, I always participated and enjoyed it. So yeah, I wish more schools were able to have music programs, not just like once a week sort of thing.
Very true. I definitely agree with you. Music should be taught in school at a very early age. And the reason I say that is because it was for me. And I can attribute my love of music to a bunch of different places. But I can really only attribute my understanding of music at any level to Janet Howson. That was the name of my elementary school music teacher. And at the time when I was, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, she was a little older than probably, like if she had kids, they were probably in high school when I was in elementary school. I don't even remember she had kids, but at any rate, she taught music, and she taught music the way that I think people in the 60s and 70s were taught music. You learn do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do,
yeah,
and you play the recorder, and you get to play the xylophone if you're lucky, and if you're not lucky, they make you play the tambourine, and there's all these little roles. But Mrs. Howson was probably had more of an impact on more students than anybody ever gave her credit for.
Okay.
Because I think we all came out of her classes in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade with at least a fundamental understanding of how music works and what different types there were and what a scale was. And some of us even learned to read music, and some of us were inspired to learn how to play music. And I just really was thinking the other day about how underappreciated she was for me and probably a lot of my friends. And she had I think a huge impact on a lot of us. And so I haven't heard a thing about Mrs. Howson in 35 years. I hope she's still living. If she is and she listens to this, thank you. Because here I am on a music podcast some 40 years later, and it has a little bit to do with the education I got in Pikeville Elementary School from Janet Howson. So, yeah, she had a big impact on a lot of us. And then in later years, when I got into high school, we had a band director. And this is where my musical interests and other things that have happened in life kind of crossed wires. We had a band director for a couple years when I was in junior high and high school. His name was Lee Burke. And one of Lee's side jobs was a morning show DJ on the radio.
Okay.
So I was a big fan and he played the drums, which was my favorite thing back then. So I was a big Lee Burke fan. And when I ended up being in his band class or whatever it was in junior high school, I thought he was the coolest. Until the day he had the activity in class one day was write down the lyrics to any song all the lyrics to. And I wrote down all the lyrics to whatever song I wrote down. And when it got to the chorus, because I was used to reading lyric sheets, I put in parentheses chorus. And so he reads a few of them randomly to the class, or as part of this exercise. He reads mine, and he does this. He gets down, blah, 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 blah. Chorus. And I was like, you dick, So he didn't call me out, but I knew he knew it was me. And I was just like, you asshole. So anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lee was a morning show DJ guy too. Really one of those kind of funny slapstick morning writing comedy bits kind of guys. And I always thought he was cool. I went to his senior recital at Pikeville College when he was a percussionist. I was probably 6 years old or something. He was one of the reasons I got fascinated with the drums. So all these music teachers had a big impact on me, despite the fact that I have absolutely no musical talent, nor could I play anything. I could barely play the drums. I could keep a beat, but I wasn't any good. And I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks to the music teachers out there, because you have a bigger impact than you probably know.
Very nice. Well said.
All right. What are we doing now? I forget. I got caught up in my story.
Yeah.
We
are going to talk to Leon Majcen.
We are going to talk to Leon Majcen. Also on the show, we'll do our normal Pickin the Grinnin segment and share our picks for whose music is making us grin. They might be new artists. They might be old, but they'll sure be good. And so, we're sipping on a bourbon and I'm out. So we'll take a quick break for a refill. Take a moment, if you will, and listen to more about the awesome sponsors that help make this show happen. You know who our favorite is. Our favorite is Muskox Flannels. That's right. They are buttery soft, built like a tank. You're going to want to rub on them. So get you some Muskox flannels. Go muskox.com/Rambler. Go muskox.com/Rambler. You can shop there. They got different styles and colors. They also, I think this is cool, they have different weights. Like they have seasonal flannels. So they have thin ones for the summertime, so you can still have the flannel look and not be sweating, because that would make the buttery soft probably margarine-y soft, and that wouldn't be good. So get you some gomuskox.com/Rambler and use the code Rambler. You'll get yourself a discount. And then you put those on, and then whomever you want to rub on, they're going to want to rub on you more because you got on your Muskox flannels. They're on the show. They are going to fire us as a
so
sponsor.
Bad.
But
so bad. And the teen is tickled. I have to tell you, she's standing here listening and just like.
Nice. Okay. Well, ignore everything I just said. No rubbing on anything. You're not allowed. You're too young. All right.
Yes.
When did I get to be on the podcast? I'm in a band now.
Oh, Lord. When you have a record deal and a hit, you can come on the show. How about that?
You performed one time.
You've already been on the podcast. Don't get greedy. All right, here we go. Hey, go get the Muskox flannels and don't go away. This is Roots Music Rambler. Hey, gang, I was not a flannel guy until I found Muskox flannels. Now, I don't want to wear anything else. Well, I mean, pants, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so Muskox is a premium flannel shirt that comes in various colors and styles, but also all season or heavy. So they have different weights and thicknesses. They even have sizes that fit big boys like me. Now, Frank, I hear the ladies like the flannel look. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So one Muskox flannels customer actually said they are buttery soft, but built like a tank. I resemble that remark, especially when I'm wearing my Muskox flannels. They also, by the way, give $10 of every $100 order to support wildlife conservation. So you're doing some good for the earth and the animals on it with every purchase. Visit gomuskox.com/Rambler, browse the collection and get you some buttery soft, built like a tank premium flannels. Make sure you use the code Rambler, all caps, and get the discount on your order. That's gomuskox.com/Rambler. Use the code Rambler, buttery soft, yo. That might be my new hashtag.
Bought a ticket for the next train, I'm coming home today, but I'll be gone tomorrow, for the morning sun awaits. I told you I was in love, but my heart was on the run. I didn't think that we'd be another high that had to fall. I wish I knew which way to turn to. I wish I knew which way to drive. If I could just see you one more time, drinking coffee neath the morning light. Drinking coffee neath the morning light. When Sunday morning rolls around. When Sunday morning rolls around.
Back on Roots Music Rambler, that song you just heard is Sunday Morning Coffee. It is a relatively new single from Leon Majcen, who is with us today from Nashville. Leon, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're fantastic and excited to have you here. We were talking before we hit the record button here on the big show. I saw you open for Sundy Best a couple of months ago here in Louisville and was really, really impressed with your songs. You did remind me, without me looking up your bio or anything like that, you reminded me that night of kind of John Prine a little bit. And I'm wondering, did you grow up kind of on singer-songwriters, or was there music that you loved before you kind of discovered that singer-songwriter acoustic kind of vibe?
My dad was a big Bob Dylan fan. You know, both of my parents came from overseas, and we came to the States when I was about a year and a half old. And I mean, my dad always listened to Bob Dylan and Chris Christopherson and Johnny Cash, and he kind of got me into that. And, you know, at a young age, I didn't really have the sense to appreciate it. You know, like when you're like a kid, you kind of go through weird phases. Like I had a metal phase and like a rock and roll phase, even a rap phase, you know, but I always kind of knew where my home was at, you know, as far as music goes. I kind of had to, like do a lot of searching on my own, you know, as far as like, you know, John Prine and, you know, finding Townes Van Zandt and like hearing all those songs. That was a big turning point for me. Like when I found those artists, that kind of just made me go down the rabbit hole.
How old were you when that happened?
Man, I remember it was like 15 or 16 when I found Townes, and I think I had like my learner's permit and I was just driving around listening to music by myself. I wasn't supposed to be driving by myself, but I do remember Poncho and Lefty, you know, the Heart-Worn Highways version where Townes is just picking in the kitchen. That came on and I was like, wait, what is this? You know, but that was pretty much it for me. I never looked back.
That's interesting as a 15-year-old because you look relatively young. So it wasn't like you were around when Townes Van Zandt and John Prine were like really putting out music. So you did have to go and search for it.
Yeah. I tell everybody, like, I don't really get to go to a lot of concerts because everybody I listen to is dead, retired, jail, you know?
That's a bummer. Yeah. So you mentioned growing up, you grew up in Florida. Is that where your parents went when they got to the U.S.?
When we got to the U.S., they put us in Rockford, Illinois.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My dad was like, I don't want to live in Rockford. We had some friends from back in Bosnia that were living in Florida. They came like a few months before us, I think, and my dad went down there to scope it out, and he basically called my mom like the next day. He was like, hey, pretty nice down here. You guys should come down. And we left Rockford. I think we were in Rockford for like a few months.
I'm from Chicago and I still live here, so I can say that about Rockford. You know, I haven't been there probably in decades, but, you know, it's just easy to pick fun.
To our 3 listeners in Rockford, I apologize on their behalf.
I've actually heard good things about Rockford, but, you know, I think it was kind of like a culture shock, you know, for my parents when they came here, and, you know, they just...
It's a lot colder here than it would be in Florida, so there's that.
It makes it a lot easier being close to a beach, you know. If
Sure.
you're somewhere unfamiliar.
For sure. So growing up in Florida, where in Florida did you then settle?
Clearwater Safety Harbor, like right outside of Tampa.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I'm very familiar with Clearwater Beach. I got to spend just about every summer growing up in Clearwater Beach. So, yeah, I'm very familiar. Now, did that play into the music that you listen to at all?
Honestly, I feel like so I have an album coming out May 31st, and I feel like on this record, it definitely did. Pretty much like all the songs were written like when I was up in New York. I went to New York for school, and I lived there for 2 years, and I regretted moving there about 5 days in. So when the pandemic happened, that pretty much gave me a good reason to come back to Florida and get out of the city. Then when I got back, I was working at this commercial fishing dock, and I was just fishing every day. And, you know, I kind of went back into my old routine before I moved up to New York. That's like when a lot of those songs were written, you know, during that period. I always spent like my childhood like wanting to leave Florida because, you know, like everybody wants to hate their hometown and,
Right.
and all that. But then you leave and then you kind of realize it's, you know, you had it pretty good. I remember just freezing my ass off in New York once, and was walking down the street, and I never was a huge Jimmy Buffett fan growing up, but I heard Jimmy Buffett's song come on like a speaker at like one of the bars. I don't know, something in me at that point, you know, where it was like 5 degrees. I was like, man, I think I really like Jimmy Buffett.
You're like, I need to be at the beach.
Got you homesick, didn't it?
Absolutely, man.
That's awesome.
And fishing every day. Wow, that just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful.
The hard life.
Really hard life.
So I happen to know that you auditioned for American Idol back in 2018, I believe it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're gonna peel off the scabs too. So brace yourself. Now I don't think your segment ever aired, but tell us about that experience. What did you learn from that American Idol experience that you've been able to take forward that's maybe informed your performing or writing or anything else?
In all honesty, I feel like the biggest thing that I got out of it was some of the people that I met. Just a lot of good people. Everybody's there for the same reason, and, you know, everybody's trying to pursue the same thing. And, you know, it was really nice to just be around like a lot of like-minded people.
We are talking to Leon Majcen. He is a singer-songwriter. He's got a new album coming out, as he mentioned, on May 31st. We're going to get to a little bit of that later on in the show. But we're going to take a break right now. We're going to go to break with a little older tune from Leon. It's called World Gone By. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Kids are running around, climbing the trees, picking the flowers and chasing the bees. Living off bread and homemade wine is gonna be fine by me. We've been staying inside for quite some time, living on the edges of a world gone by. We lost Bill Withers and we lost John Prine, picking up the pieces of a world gone by. In a world gone by, in a world gone by, picking up the pieces and staring at a ceiling of a clear blue sky. In a world gone by, in a world gone by, looking at the evidence, running out of medicine, everybody's crying and it's leaving us dry.
Hey, Ramblers, I have experienced a revolution in sound in my house, and you can too. The revolution is driven by Sonos. The Sonos wireless music system lets you play any song in any room, control it all with the Sonos app on your phone or tablet. Sonos has all the connections to give you millions of songs and stations, including connecting to your iTunes, your Spotify, Pandora, and more. Get a wireless Sonos player and hear the sound quality difference. Then get one for all the rooms in your house where you listen, but might be out of reach of the stereo or Bluetooth speaker you normally use. So I've got one in my bedroom and bathroom for when I get ready in the morning. I've got one in the kitchen and living room for when I'm hanging out with friends. And then down here in the office den for when I'm working or setting up for another episode of the show. I happen to like the Sonos Move, which is one of the speaker models. I can put it out on my patio for cookouts. It's a weather-resistant design, has an 11-hour battery life, so I don't need to plug it in out there when I have people over for cookouts or tailgates or whatever. And I can play music on all or just a few of the speakers, so I never lose my jams going from room to room. Try the Move and hear the difference, then hook up all the rooms in your house for an excellent listening experience. While you move around cleaning or dancing or whatever you do in the privacy of your own home. Listen to Roots Music Rambler on it, for God's sakes. It makes me sound even more handsome. Go to rootsmusic.link/Sonos, S-O-N-O-S, rootsmusic.link/Sonos. That'll take you right to the Sonos Move speaker page to purchase. I highly recommend it, and you'll love how much better your music and podcasts sound. Go to rootsmusic.link/Sonos. That's rootsmusic.link/Sonos.
I've been chasing you around the sun, digging tunnels just to try and catch up. I stayed happy while times got sad. But there's a blue sky, babe, just in time for it all comes back. Lost my mind just a couple of times. Wrote a few songs, too many rhymes. I was stupid when I should have been smart. But there's a blue sky, babe, I'm just sitting right here in the dark. What do you say about tonight? Just you and me in the neon lights, cracking jokes and talking music. We ain't ever gonna lose it. The neon sign's been calling both our names.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. The song you just heard is by Leon Majcen. It is called Blue Sky. You can find that on Spotify along with all of his other stuff. And certainly if you follow him there, then you're going to get this debut or another album, not the debut album, coming out on May 31st from him. So make sure you do that. We'll put the links in the show notes. Leon, you mentioned earlier when you and your parents came over from Bosnia, you started out in Rockford, Illinois, and then eventually moved to Florida. So, part of your bio points out that you are the son of Bosnian war refugees. What can you share about your parents' story and your story of coming to America? Take us through that journey a little bit and let us know how that all happened.
I mean, I was a baby when all that happened. And I was actually born in the Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
We came to the States when I was about a year and a half old. It was definitely it was a humble beginning, like growing up, I had everything I needed. I had a really good family. I was always close with my family, and, they worked their ass off to, provide for me and my sister and all that. And I'm super grateful for that. It's like any, moving anywhere, especially it's tough when you don't speak the language and all that. I think my dad knew how to say hi and bye,
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he speaks broken English now.
Well, I mean, I certainly can't put myself, I can imagine, but I certainly don't know what that experience is like. Obviously you were very young, but I certainly am glad that there was an option for you and your family to come to America. And certainly life has worked out, fairly well for you so far. So you're being able to pursue some dreams and whatnot, which I would assume in the, the former Czech Republic is probably not as easy anyway these days. So anything, obviously overcoming coming to a new country, having a family that doesn't, maybe doesn't speak the language, getting acclimated into a new world, probably starting out with very little and kind of working your way up, even though you were young when that happened. I wonder what part of that experience, or just the stories that you hear from your parents and whatnot, how does that inform either your music or your songwriting or both?
Growing up, I did hear a lot of stories from, both my parents and my mom and my dad and my sister. She was 4 when they left Bosnia. She's a whole 10 years older than me. But yeah, it definitely kind of shaped the way, it shapes the way that you see the world, there's bad shit that happens, and,
mm-hmm.
Unfortunately there's still stuff going on today. I'm just happy to be living here and pursuing my dream and playing songs, and grateful for it all.
And when did you start writing songs?
I started really young. I think I was 10. I was 9 or 10 when I started playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I started trying to write songs at 11, but that didn't really go anywhere. And I think at 16, no, I must have been like 15. I wrote like the first song that I released. It was called Love Misery. And basically I was on a road trip. Me and my dad drove up to Savannah and back, and I'd written the song like right when we got back. I ended up recording it, and then my sister, she found this guy at Sirius XM, like she found his email and just sent the song. She didn't tell me that she sent it. And the song was not on Spotify or nothing, you know, it was just, she just liked the song and she didn't tell me anything. I came home from school. I think I must have been 16. It was like a year later. Like she didn't hear back for like 6 months or something. And, I came back home with the news that the song was going to be in rotation the following week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was
That is so sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, that was like a big turning point for me, you know, like from just, you know, thinking that, you know, music was just going to be a hobby, you know, to, you know, me kind of feeling like, all right, maybe, you know, maybe I can do this, you know, like, and just
No kidding.
have this be my job, you know.
Wow. So had you, between the time you wrote that song and you found out it was going to be in rotation on Sirius XM, did you write other songs, or was that like you went, oh goodness, I should go write more because it worked?
I had a few songs that I was sitting on. You know, I was always writing, like even the times like where I was quitting music, and you know, like I still kept writing. You know, it was, you know, I feel like it's something that kind of just follows me around. You know, but yeah, I ended up releasing like an EP and an album shortly after that. I ended up taking down, so that was on Spotify until the middle of last year.
Why did you take it down?
Oh man. You know.
See, yeah, it's okay though. Here's the idea. Hold on to them, and then when you get big, you release them as an archive or something, and then there you go. You've got another album up there, and you didn't have to do a whole lot for it. So
I have kind of been thinking about maybe like rehashing some of those songs, because I do feel like there's little bits and pieces, you know, that like at that time, like, you know, you write a song about, you know, getting your heart broken or not having any money, like it doesn't mean anything, you know, but then 8 years later, you know, when you've lived a little more and kind of, you know, spread your wings and gotten out in the world, you know, I think some of those lyrics might have more weight to them, which I think would be cool to revisit.
what's your creative process like? Is it like you come up with a lyric and then a melody, or vice versa? When and where do you find yourself most creative, and what's the process for you, or does it vary?
It kind of varies. Like I've kind of realized that like the rhythm that I've kind of had, you know, I'll kind of just go about just living life and kind of collecting little bits and pieces, like little ideas. I'm always on voice memos. Like if I hear something that I like, or, you know, think of like a melody, a lot of it's like when I'm driving now, you know, I'm always driving. So yeah, like if I get like an idea of a melody or something, I'll just record that. And then it's kind of like, you know, I'll have these other phases, like after like the idea phase, you know, ends, like I'll collect like a bunch of ideas. I'll kind of go into, you know, I'll have like a boring 2-3 weeks, and I'll kind of just sit with those ideas and then kind of craft them out and turn them into songs.
The way that you answered that, I'm assuming then it's lyrical first and then you put music to it later, or is there a melody that pops in there too?
Sometimes it's like a song title, you know, or like somebody says something like a saying, or, you know, you're like, that applies to what's going on, you know, going on with my life, you know, recently or 5 years ago. But yeah, typically it's like chords. Like I'll get some like chords down and think, all right, you know, and then just kind of let it spill.
And you said you've been doing a lot of driving. So is that part of like your touring? Mm-hmm. You know, you're working with probably a lot more musicians and stuff now too. So are you picking up any like helpful hints from them? Anything you're learning while you're out on the road?
For sure. I've been trying to learn how to save money out on the road. That's one. You know, just kind of being smart, you know, about like what hotels to stay at, you know, if it's even worth staying in a hotel, you know, where you can sleep in your car. That kind of stuff, you know.
Whew. The life of a struggling musician.
No kidding.
Not for the goodness part.
Well, if you're ever in Chicago or Louisville, look us up because we can probably at least hook you up with a warm bed and a shower for a night. That wouldn't be too hard for either one of us, I wouldn't think. We're talking to Leon Majcen. He's got an album coming out on May 31st. We'll talk more about that here in just a second, but I want to step out and take another break, mostly so we can listen to more of his music. We're going to go to break with a song called What It Means to Be Free, and then we'll have another one when we come back. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Walking down the road, I'm trying to post up, find a place to sit. Watch the people as they go by, some make me laugh, some make me cry, must admit. If it weren't for all the others talking about the way that things should be, I think we'd be much better off, and some might even say we'd be more free. I've been wasting all my memories, reaching for the sun. Afraid my disposition is as broken as they come. I'm gone, I'm tired, I'm blue. I left home without a warning, a couple shirts on my back. I had a pair of jeans and I made do with what I had. I'm gone, I'm tired, I'm blue. I was brought up by the heroes of my youth. They got me worn out and chewed up and spit out and bruised up by the only world I knew. After all my searching, Lord, I rest my case when I say that I found no other place like you.
Back on Roots Music Rambler, we are talking to the singer and songwriter Leon Majcen, who is behind the song you just heard. That's one of his new singles. We came back with Gone, Tired, and Blue is the name of the song. You can find that on Spotify, and I'm imagining that's probably one of the singles that's coming up on the new album that's due out on May 31st. So, Leon, let's talk a little bit about that. You've got some singles out on Spotify, but by the time this airs, I believe the new album will be out there, so all the links will be applied and people can go hear about it. I believe the album is going to be called Cowboys, Chords, and Hammer On. Is that correct? Tell us about it.
Actually, no, that was just a little saying that I put in my Instagram bio. It's been there for a few years. I figured I'd just leave it.
All right. Well, tell us about the new album. What's in store for people who go click through and listen to that?
I wrote a lot of those songs while I was working at the commercial fishing dock. I worked there for about a year during the pandemic. And, as a kid, you're trying to hide, like where you're not hide where you're from, but, you don't necessarily think the place you grew up in is cool. And, after being in New York for 2 years, I was pretty ready to get out and come back home to Florida. Even in Nashville, like I miss Florida, but I could always get in my truck and drive down 10 hours and see my folks and be at the beach.
And so how do you approach putting an album together? Is it just like you think, oh, I've got these 12, 15 songs. I just wrote them. They're going to go on this new album. Or do you have favorites that you wrote like years ago? What's that process like?
I guess like these songs are just kind of like a collection of that, it kind of encapsulates that time period, where it kind of felt like purgatory, the pandemic was going on and I wasn't sure where I was going to go or what I was going to do. And I just kind of felt stuck at the time, but I was also having a lot of fun. And it was kind of a weird time for me, where I didn't really know what the next move was, but I was just kind of living and enjoying myself. I feel like that was like a critical kind of moment for me as a songwriter. I feel like I definitely like needed to take a step back from music and just kind of zoom out and dive right back in when I was ready.
Nice.
So at that time, you knew that you wanted to pursue music, right? This was something that you knew you were going to do. Is that what you went to New York for school?
I went to school to have a plan B in case things didn't work out. But then while I was in school, I kind of realized, all right, I don't even think I want a plan B, I'm just going to try and do this for better or for worse. And
plan Bs suck.
Plan Bs suck. They're not very fun.
Hey, there's a song title for you. You can have them for
Plan
free.
Bs suck. I like it. I'll give credit where credit is due.
There you go. Hey, I think your first album, at least the one that I found on Spotify, came out in, I think 2020. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that was kind of the big splash for that, if there was kind of shat upon by COVID and the pandemic and everything, because you didn't get to go out and support that one much, at least if the timing was what I think it was. That one was Back Till I'm Gone. What did you learn from making that album that went into informing the new album?
I think we spent about like 2 years like tracking that album, like just on and off. And like all those songs were written in a dorm room in New York City, I was just homesick, and like Back Till I'm Gone, it always kind of felt like when I was visiting home and, seeing my folks, it was kind of like, all right, I'm here until I'm gone again,
Yeah.
And that was like a homesick album, I was just really missing home.
So this album comes out on May 31st. I know you're going all over the place. I think you told us before we started here that in a couple of days you're jumping on probably in a truck or a van or somewhere to go to the Pacific Northwest and do some dates out there. Mm-hmm. What's the trajectory like for you in your mind? Where are you going to be in a year? What's the next 12 to 18 months look like for Leon Majcen?
I'm hoping that I'm just on the road more and more. Honestly, like I love being on the road. Like a lot of people complain about it. And, like it's definitely not for everybody, but, for me, it's just fun. Like, it's like you could pack a year's worth of living in 2 or 3 weeks, just going from town to town. You meet a bunch of people, you make new friends, you get to meet some cool musicians and, share your music and make memories,
Yeah,
that's
good.
For me, it makes life worth living. And
there you go.
I always knew it was what I wanted to do, but it's been super fulfilling.
That's good stuff. Well, we've made some allusions to this over the course of the conversation, but you're a Florida Gulf Coast guy. You like that Gulf Coast life. You worked in the shipping boats and the fishing boats and the shipping yards. There's a big gap. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a big gap out there with Jimmy Buffett gone. Just saying, there might be a big opening there for you there, Leon.
Oh, man.
New generation yacht rock.
I don't know if I'm fit to fill that gap. That's a good gap to fill.
Well, if you wrote a bunch of these songs on those docks in the Gulf Coast of Florida, I think we at least have a little bit of a direction as to where this album's coming from. So we're looking forward to hearing it.
I'm looking forward to sharing it with y'all.
Well, we're going to put the links in the show notes so people can go over and download that, and we'll put the links to your website and all that good stuff so people can find you and follow you around. And I can attest to the fact I've seen him live. That's the reason he's on the show, is because he caught my attention opening up for Sunday Best here in Louisville a couple months ago. And for those of you who like singer-songwriters, Leon's the shit, man. He's got good stuff, and he's great to see live. He's fun, entertaining. He likes to drink a beer. We like that too.
We do.
So Leon, thanks so much for spending some time with us, man. Be safe out on the road, and come back and see us when you're a big shot, okay?
Thank you guys for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
We're going to go to break with Legends Never Die. He's Leon Majcen. This is Roots Music Rambler.
I've been told they just never die, but honey, if they did, it just wouldn't seem right. The body goes, but the name lives on. Driving down the roads of New Mexico, I'm taken by the scenery and the time that rolls away. Free of any country, free of anything.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. How about that? Leon Majcen, just in case you didn't catch it, the way you spell his last name, Majcen. He is Bosnian by heritage and lineage and all that good stuff. So it's Majcen. He likes to say it's pronounced Majcen, might not. So anyway, good talk, good stuff. Go check that music out. We'll put the links in the show notes. It's time for our Pickin the Grinnin segment. This is where we pick who we've been listening to that's making us grin, so that you have some new music or old music that you haven't heard in a while to go listen to this week and check out. And I will go first on this one. I'll give you a break on this one, Frank, because I'm going to throw one out there that a few people will raise an eyebrow at and wag a finger at me for doing this, but I don't give a shit, because every now and then you just got to turn it up and just surrender to the sound of one Mr. Joe Diffie. Joe Diffie might be one of the first guys who did a lot of songs that you would probably lump into that 90s country rock sound with the corny themes and shit. And a Spotify playlist was going the other day, and Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox came on, and I just rolled down the windows and sang. And it's just feel good shit. Prop me up beside the jukebox when I die. I don't want to go to heaven, or I want to go to heaven, but I don't want to go tonight. Fill my boots up with sand, put a stiff drink in my hand, prop me up beside the jukebox when I die. You can't not sing along to that shit. It's good stuff. And Joe Diffie is probably underrated and probably gets shit on for some, like John Deere Green and some other songs that are kind of overdone and whatnot. But man, I love me some Joe Diffie every now and then. And so I think we all take a pause this week and go roll down the windows. If you can roll down them windows in a pickup truck, go do that, and put on some Prop Me Up and drive around and turn it up. God damn it.
God damn it. Even better if you have the crank windows.
The actual,
right?
Yeah. Kids don't know what you're talking about.
I know, right? Not a button, but an actual crank.
You roll the windows down.
Yeah, literally.
Exactly.
Literally.
All right, what you got for the Pickin the Grinnin segment there, Miss Francesca?
Okay, so this is actually this band that I'm going to talk about. We've actually discussed before. It was all positive, but I finally got to see this band live just last night.
Ooh.
So this episode's going to air in a couple weeks, so it's like mid-May, So last night I got to see Hermanos Gutierrez.
Nice. And
we have talked about them before, like I mentioned, and they were described to me before. Their music was described as panty dropping music, and that's not wrong. So,
you dropped your panties?
No. I kept my bloomers on,
Okay.
but what I'm saying is it's good, right?
Okay.
And Tom describes it as sexy surf music.
Okay.
But the show, the experience was very new to me. If you don't know about Hermanos Gutierrez, they're two brothers, as the name would imply, hermanos, and they are Swiss and Ecuadorian. And the music that they play is sexy surf music, and it's all instrumental. There are no lyrics. So They played at Thalia Hall, which is one of Chicago's best venues. But there's no seats except like in the balcony, which you have to book separately. So, it's just general admission down on the floor. And I'm like leading up to the show, I'm like, what is it going to be like? Right. Because it's not like people are going to be really moving around or singing along, and I was a little not nervous, but concerned, on what the whole experience was going to be like. And I mean, they were mesmerizing, like I found a good spot. I was right in the middle of the floor. I had direct view to the stage, and Esteban and Alejandro, they sat there and they just played, and they gave us some backstory on some of the songs. They spoke in English and mixed in some Spanish. So I was all excited. And then they were introducing a song that they actually wrote with Dan Auerbach. And you just mentioned him. And Tom didn't know that. He didn't know that Dan Auerbach was involved with Hermanos Gutierrez. So he was like, oh, and I'm like, oh, and you like them now? Okay. But it was an interesting experience. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And even today, like I got to school and I put on Spotify and that's what I was listening to.
That's great.
So if you haven't listened to them yet, I highly recommend it. And if you get a chance to see them, I would recommend it too. It is going to be a different experience. And I think too, a lot of it depends on the venue.
Yeah.
If it's seated, then it might be a little more, I don't know, it might be a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really good. And again, very easy on the eyes.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys produced their latest album. His studio there in Nashville is cranking out stuff from some great new artists. And Hermanos Gutierrez apparently is out there on the road supporting that.
And Los Hermanos.
Okay, all right. ¿Dónde está tu paños? That's what I got.
¿Dónde está la discoteca?
Yeah. La bicicleta es verde. I had me some Rosetta Stone for a month, Oh my goodness. Yeah. Más grande cerveza, por favor.
Sí.
That's what I got. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up another wonderful episode of Roots Music Rambler. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show. Pop us an email over there at ramblers@rootsmusicrambler.com. If you want to send us a big email, you can go to the website at rootsmusicrambler.com, which is where you can subscribe, listen to the shows. We probably got a contact form, and we got a store. You can get a hat, you can get some stickers, and you can get some T-shirts there. We got some real comfy T-shirts of the old Roots Music Rambler. So get on that and represent out there for us. Tell other people about the show. That's the only way we can grow. So bring it on. Anyway, Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2024. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next Hoe-Down and Throwdown. She's Frank.
He's Falls.
Whatever you do, kids, ramble on.